He may have to pop in and out here and there, but that is all right. Um,
And here we go.
right?
Right on cue. We are heading over.
Now, Kathy, you are introducing our new friend to us
Mhm.
as he gets situated. How did you meet him?
I actually met him at a convention that my husband and I, Greg, helped organize. I met him just like a month ago, and just so happened we were talking Bigfoot and everything, and I thought, oh, I wonder if he would come on the show and talk. So, that's how I met him. But I think he's known Greg for quite a while. So, John Turley is his name, and I believe he is the owner of Crowtown Sasquatchers. Did I say that right, John? I should.
Crowtown Squachers. Yep.
Okay, very good. And John, you want to tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Well, I got interested in Bigfoot at a very young age. I always attribute it to my mom was kind of sci-fi. She was a Trekkie, and we watched Star Trek, and In Search of every Sunday night. It was a
Mm-hmm.
ritual. Star Trek at 6, In Search of at 7, and then Battlestar Galactica at 8. And of course, we watched $6 Million Man and all that. So,
Yeah.
I was exposed to all the Bigfoot stuff. And I love sci-fi, read comic books from when I was a little kid. So, got into it at an early age. Had an experience when I was younger. Um, had another experience as a teenager, and then had some things go on in my life for a while that took me away from it. But after I got clean and sober back when I was
Very good.
40,
Congratulations.
and I got back into Bigfoot. Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm coming up on 16 years, so
Wow, that's
very proud
awesome.
of that.
Congratulations.
And so one of the things, two things I've been able to give back with sobriety was I got back into college, and I'm a counselor now. And then also I was able to get back into Bigfooting and get everything back in order and get my life back in order. So
That's
so that's what I
awesome.
do for a living. I'm actually a counselor, and then during the summer, spring through fall, basically we do. Uh, we're vendors, and we go to all the shows, and then try to do research when I can. Go out in the woods and check for Bigfoot sign and footprints and all that. So
Mhm. Yeah, I wanted to add real quick, just for the audience, the reason why he is in a car and why it's going in and out a little bit is that he had a last minute appointment that he had to take care of. I don't want to give your personal business, but it was something that he could not avoid. So he was kind enough, instead of canceling, he decided he was going to be on the show while he's driving. So he is going over a bridge that may bring him in and out a little bit, but we'll go with it. So thank you, John. I appreciate you being on the show and giving us a little bit of history about who you are.
Yeah. And friends in the audience, if you have questions for John, please feel free to put them in chat. We'll ask him. I'm sure he's got some really fun information. Before we went live, he was saying how, like, John, you've even found footprints and other things in your investigations, which to me is amazing. Um, Melanie is wondering if there's been any type of Bigfoot sightings anywhere near Georgia or close by to there.
well, I know. What was I just looking at? Something I saw something the other day. I'm a big fan of YouTube, so I feel like I've watched just about every Bigfoot documentary on there, and any new ones I'm all over. There was just some stuff in North Georgia, which is where predominantly a lot of those sightings are down there, because that's where the mountains are and stuff. There's part of Appalachia there. So I lived down in Georgia for about three or 4 years back in the mid 2000s. And I lived down around Atlanta and Alabama, so kind of in between those two. But the topography way or up north in Georgia is way different than down south. Like down south, it's a lot of flat swamp, lots of red mud, and then when you get up into North Georgia, I mean, it really starts to look like Kentucky, West Virginia, that kind of area. So it's a lot different, and so predominantly, and that's where most of the Bigfoot sightings are in Georgia. So if she's in that area, up around that northern part of the state, there's a lot, and obviously there's a Bigfoot museum in North Georgia. So stop over by there and talk to those people, because he's I can't remember his name right off the bat. That's terrible of me. I've met him many times. He usually comes to the High Bigfoot Conference, which happens to be this weekend. So, but yeah, check it out. It's the I can't even remember the name of the actual museum, but if you Google Bigfoot Museum in Georgia, I mean, it's the only one there. So, and it's pretty awesome.
I am pulling up that Google tab right now for you, Melanie. It's funny because I feel like most of the Bigfoot sightings I hear of are always up northern, US, in the mountains and the parks. So it's kind of interesting that he's, even popping in down around there. But do you find that it's mostly in the mountainous areas that he's seen?
For the most part, that's where those sightings occur. I mean, like other states, even Ohio, Ohio is so different. People that don't live in Ohio, they have, if you've never been here, it's kind of like it. I would equate it to Georgia as well, but you flip it on its side, because if you have only been to Western Ohio or Cincinnati, you have no idea what the rest of the state looks like. It is literally two different states, because once you get east of Columbus, even if you've been to just Columbus, you're like, oh, this place is just flat, blah, blah, blah. If you get east of Columbus, as soon as you get out of Franklin County and you get into Licking County, you start getting into hills and hollers, and and then as you get over here to Coshocton and even east of us, like that's when you're in the foothills they call it the foothills of the Appalachians for a reason. And you literally are. We have these little, well, I mean, they're relatively big. They're way bigger than anything they got on the western side of the state. So I do think the hills, and of course they always say follow the water too. So when you have mountains and hills and valleys, you're going to have rivers and ponds and lakes, and that's a lot of the Bigfoot sightings are always around those kind of areas. So the more food, the more cover, the more water there is, that's where you're going to find most of those sightings.
Huh. I know there's been some speculation about Bigfoot migrating this time of year. Have you experienced like the sightings and they're always moving in a certain direction? Like, are they heading down south for the summer where it's warmer,
or? Yeah, they're snowbirds. No, I'm just kidding.
Same.
That's
same.
The people that I have learned from, my friends who are researchers who have been doing this a lot longer than I have always told me that there's always more sightings in the spring and the fall, whether that's because they're migrating or just because that's when the food sources are either starting to pop out or getting close to being done. I think that does have something to do with it, because it does seem, and a lot of my researcher buddies will be like, some of them don't go out in the summertime because it's the foliage is too thick. I mean, if you've been out researching, once you get into the brambles in some places, like it's hard to get out. Hacking through that stuff is no fun, and getting all scratched up to, you know, try to find some Bigfoot sign is aggravating it, and especially when you don't find anything. But I do think, it seems like there is a correlation between sightings and those two seasons, spring and fall.
Yeah, and maybe part of that too is us as people, humans, we're not going out in the wintertime as much as we go out in the spring. In summer, it's too hot. Usually, we're at the beaches. So the spring and the fall is when we're more out in the nature area. So maybe that's why there's more sightings too. Maybe it has to do with us as well.
Oh, absolutely. You can't have a sighting if you don't have a sighter.
That's true. So now you had mentioned that you've had your own experiences. Were they here in Ohio that you've had things happen, or was it in Georgia when you were living there?
No, they were here in Ohio, and the first one was, I was just telling my neighbor. It's funny because where we live in town is we live on the eastern side of town, and my sighting was literally I can see the hill where my sighting happened when I was a kid. So this was 1979. And I've told this story a lot, so I try not sometimes when you tell a story, you're like, I already told you this. But I try to keep in all the details. So the land where we had our sighting, this guy owned it. We called him Old Man McCoy. Obviously his last name was McCoy. Old Man McCoy did not like people coming up on his property. Now, the story that we're always told when we were younger is he had 3 sons, and 2 of them were killed in accidents. One of them drowned in a pond up there, and then the other one was either hit by lightning or he was under a tree, and the tree got hit by lightning and he passed away. So the reason we were always going up there was 2 reasons. There was 3 ponds up there that we like to go up there and go fishing in. The other reason was Old Man McCoy would chase you off his property. He would drive around in this truck and he would shoot rock salt at you. So it was kind of and if you don't know what rock salt, I mean, he would literally take rock salt from the rivers or down by the river, load up his shotgun shells with it, and he would shoot that at you. It's very painful. It stings. Usually would break the skin just a little bit. Like it's a deterrent. It's kind of like a rubber bullet, but just a little more natural. And I never got shot, but I know people that did, and they were not appreciative of it. So he would chase you off his property. So it was kind of a cat and mouse thing. And this was the 70s. So, that was one of the things you had to do, was try to find something fun to do, and getting chased around by an old man shooting at you is pretty exciting. So, so that was 2 reasons. So the reason we were going up there that day, go fish. So we had fishing poles. We're walking down we're actually walking up the 2-track because it goes up the hill. And a 2-track is just like an old path. It has two tracks on it that somebody made with a tractor or a vehicle. So we're going up through there, and to the right of us, there's a bunch of saplings, and it just seemed to me like this is how I always describe it. The woods exploded to my right. All the birds took off, like the trees started shaking, and I turned and looked, and what I saw was the big conical head, giant shoulders, and I couldn't see a face because the shadow was the sun was behind whatever it was, Bigfoot. Let's call it Bigfoot. And so the shadows were coming down. I couldn't see a face. I don't remember a smell, and I can't recall if it made like if it growled at us or anything like that. What I do know is we looked at each other. We were like, "Oh crap!" and we ran back down the trail. Now this is where, at the time, we thought we were superheroes. We were kind of, we read a lot of comic books, so we stopped like 20 yards down the trail and ran some fishing line across it, like we were going to trip him if he came after us
with fishing line.
That was our plan, with fishing line. And then we kind of looked at each other after like 10 15 seconds. We were like, let's get out of here. And we ran off the hill, and it was exhilarating to say the least. So a real, like I said, I told you before, after I went through all the stuff I went through in my 20s and 30s, your mind I went back to college and to become a counselor, and I start thinking these things, because your memory changes as you get older, and you kind of put things in your memory. That's how our mind heals. So anyways, I see my friend right after Beth and I so this is about 2015. I see him at the fair, and I go up to him and I said, "Hey, you remember that day we were on Old Man McCoy's hill?" Now, we were on that hill hundreds of times. It wasn't just one day. And that's what I asked him. And I didn't have a Bigfoot shirt on or anything like that. There was no, this was before we had our website or our store or anything. And I said, "You remember that day we were on Old Man McCoy's hill?" And he looked right at me. He said, "It was a Bigfoot, John." And I was like, "Thank you so much for answering that question like that." Because that's what I mean, it is what I wanted to hear, but the way he said it was more important, because there was no, he said it with a plum. There was no lead up to it. We weren't talking about Bigfoot. I mean, that was it. And that's what I wanted to hear. So a couple of years later, it was 8 years later, some friends of ours, they were in a Volkswagen. This is on the other side of the hill, basically the cutoff of where Old Man McCoy's property is. There's a road back there called Morgan Run Road. 4 of our friends, we were in high school, 4 of our friends are driving, and they have a Bigfoot crossing. And they said it was a juvenile. It ran across the road in front of them. They stopped the car, backed up. The thing was off the side of the road, kind of hunched over, like hiding. Like, that's a primate. I've since learned this. It is a primate trait. They try to hide by hunching like this. They could see, my friend was telling me, you could see the hair, and that's what he called it, hair, not fur. It was hair on the back of this thing, and you could almost see like the skin underneath, swarthy kind of. That was, they reported that to the police. So then 2 weeks after that, we're out in a valley, which is about a quarter mile east of that. And we had vocalizations, and this thing basically roared us out of this valley. It started in the back and was howling at us. So if you're looking in the back of the valley, say that's 12 o'clock. And then about every 10 minutes, it was just kind of clicking around, almost like the hand on a clock. And it got over here to 3 o'clock. There was 4 of us that day, and it got over here at 3 o'clock, right up the hill from us, and just roared. And we all jumped back in the vehicles and drove up to the high school parking lot, which is about 2 miles away. And so we had 2 cars. There was 4 of us, 2 in each vehicle. We all jump out in the high school parking lot. We're like, "What the heck was that?" Like, I mean, we were terrified. This thing, whatever it was, never came out of the tree line. So whatever it was intelligent. I remember my brother saying to me, he's like, "It was probably a sick cow." I said, "It wasn't a sick cow." I mean, if it was any other animal, you would have thought it came roaring out of that tree line, because the tree line's all the way around the valley, but it never came out of the tree line. We never saw it moving. So it might not have been a Bigfoot, but the time, this was also, I always mention this was the time, this was 1987. So Don Keating, if you're not familiar, Don Keating is like the Ohio Bigfoot guru. I mean, he's been doing it for 40 some, actually closer to 50 years now, I think. But he's been investigating this phenomenon in Ohio forever. He had signs up at that time. Like, there was a lot of talk about Bigfoot at that time period in Coshocton County. So all this stuff was happening all at the same time, all in that same tiny area. And it just so happens, like, before that, but it was still in that same general area where there's all these hills. And it's just, back then there was only a few houses back in that. The nearest town between Coshocton, or over from Coshocton's West Lafayette, it's about 5 miles away. So all that area was cornfields and woods, and there were just a few farmhouses here and there. So, I mean, anything could have been moving around in there and never been spotted. And then the question was brought up to me. I told this story at the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference. They invited me up on stage at lunch, my friend Jessica Mora, and she asked me a question I never even thought of. She said, going back to your story about old man McCoy, do you think one of the reasons he didn't want people up there is because he knew about those creatures being up there? And it never occurred to me, like, maybe that was one of the reasons he didn't want anybody up there, because he knew those things were up there. And I just found that to be, I thought that was pretty awesome.
It's like an eye-opening question of, oh gosh, I never thought of that. But also, I think it's a combination. He probably did think that, definitely, but I think he had as much fun shooting those salt bullets at you guys as you did running from them.
I would guarantee you that. I guarantee he got a kick out of that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that would be interesting. It's too bad you can't go back and ask them. And now in that area, are there still reports of Bigfoot in that area?
I have not, to my knowledge, there hasn't been any sightings up in that area now. And I can almost, if you put two and two together, I would say the main reason is there used to be an apple orchard out there too. I left that part out. The apple orchard is basically, it's not anywhere near as big as it used to be, because there's lots more people moving in out there, people clearing out land. They just ran a bunch of power lines through there not too long ago. And there was a nice little nature trail out there before. And of course, somebody came in and bought that land and ruined that. Which was really sad, because that's where a lot of people used to go on hikes and things like that. But I think, honestly, the more I think about it, the apple orchard decline is one of the big, and the more homes there. That valley I talked about back when we found it was a valley. Now there's like 3 house trailers in there. So that completely, that completely changed everything back in where we used to go. So the whole landscape has changed. Now, if you continue southeast, you start running into the Wills Creek area. Now, Wills Creek has always been a hot spot. Wills Creek is it's a man-made creek. It runs from Guernsey County down into Coshocton and into Muskingum, and empties into the Muskingum River. There's a dam right on the county line of Coshocton and Muskingum County, and that is always been a hot spot for Bigfoot sightings. There's lots of ponds, lots of backwater where there's lakes and things where people go fishing, hunting, and there's always Bigfoot sightings out there to this day. So it's I don't want to say it's shifted over there, because it might have been there might have been a lot of sightings back then too, and I just didn't know it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about is it's County Road 7, and we were out there squatching. I don't know, 4 or 5. It was before. It was right around 2019, and we were out there. A lot of old strip mine ponds. It used to be owned by the power plant, and the power plant's gone as well. So all these old roads, these strip mine roads and ponds that were well maintained, had fresh water running into them. They've become stagnant. Some of them have dried up. So a lot of that food source, again, water source, things have changed. So, like I said, again, it goes back to that water thing where as long as there's water, it seems like the sightings continue.
Now, you mentioned maybe with the apple orchard declining that maybe some of the sightings have. Just random thought. You hear farmers complaining about, wildlife ruining crops or stealing crops. Like, have any farmers been like, that damn Sasquatch keeps stealing, you know, my corn, my beans, or anything of that sort? Because I'm like, if it's a food source, and I guess they're notorious for eating just about anything, are they stealing crops?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because um, I'll give you uh, two anecdotal stories for that. So I have a friend of mine. We were in a band together back in the 90s. Um, he was my bass player. So his nephew and niece moved into a town in Coshocton County. It's a little town called Cooperdale. And well, it was on the outskirts of that. And there is a huge vineyard up there. It's an older one, and no one that I know of claims ownership to it right at the moment. But they were able to move a house trailer up there. I was at a meeting, and I was talking to him, and he noticed I had a Bigfoot shirt on. This was probably 2017, somewhere around there. And he's like, I got to tell you this. He said, my nephew and my niece moved into this house trailer, and it's right next to this vineyard. And this was in the late spring, early summer. And so the grapes were just starting to, come out. And he said, there's also apple trees up there. I should mention that. That's right. So he came and he told me about this. He said they found the first day that they were there, after the first night they stayed there, they found a huge footprint right out in the underneath the trees, the apple trees, close to the vineyard, and like it was a gigantic footprint. And the girl was so scared that she wanted to leave, like she wanted to move out that day. Apparently, they'd heard some things that night too. It wasn't just the footprint. So, was he there for I mean, I would almost certainly say he was there because the apples, even though things probably weren't ripe yet, but it was something to eat, right? And another story I'll tell you because it just popped up on my phone. So, again, the High Bigfoot conference is this weekend at Salt Fork, at Salt Fork Lodge. And the guy that runs it, Mark DeWorth, it just popped up on my thing. So he was doing telling the story in Millersburg one time at one of the libraries. And he told me this after the fact, that an Amish man had stayed after everybody had left. And there was an Amish guy there who wanted to talk to him. And he was talking about, because he didn't want anybody to know this, but this Bigfoot was on his farm, and he would see it in the mornings or right around sunset, right around sunrise, always always at that time that this thing would come into his fields. Now, I don't know if he ever mentioned about eating crops or, eating corn or whatever. The one thing I remember was he talked about how this thing stepped over his fence, and, like a 5-foot tall fence, like this thing walked over it.
Whoa.
So
Concerning.
Yeah. I-
Keep out the teenagers,
Yeah.
but start keeping Bigfoot out.
I stopped there because it says it was. Yeah. So, I mean, this was a case of a person telling a story, that didn't want anybody else to hear his story, and is talking about something that is just quite amazing, that it's a creature that's that big. Things up there, that's in State Route 39 runs up through there, and they there was a big crossing there. There was 4 people in the audience that night that they had to stop their vehicles on State Route because this creature, I don't know if I'm not saying it was the same creature, but they had a Bigfoot sighting. It ran across the road. I mean, literally, like, lots of cars stopped, and there was 4 people in that night that were part of that group that were stopped on the highway because this Bigfoot ran right across the highway in front of everybody. Got off topic there, but one thing led to the other.
I mean, when I'm up in,
and just for reference, that's north of.
It's like when I'm driving around in Lorain County, cornfields, some wooded areas, I'm more worried about deer. I can't imagine just driving down the road and it's not a deer in front of my car. It's Bigfoot. Probably going to cause more damage. How do you explain that to the insurance company?
Right.
But I might have to pull over and get myself.
Yeah, I think it would be significantly more damage, but
yeah, right. Because there's Ohio's got a lot of
if
rural.
it ever does happen, remember,
get my phone out, take some pictures, be my own
get some
evidence.
hair out of your grill.
Right.
Yeah. Get some DNA evidence off of that grill.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, there's proof. I'd rather catch it on camera, though, than with my car.
I mean, all more reason, right, to get, a camera in your car, not only to catch, people cutting you off or anything else, but maybe Bigfoot goes in front of your car and now you got it on camera. It wasn't road rage, officer. It was Bigfoot,
Absolutely.
Now, Kathy, did you go do your West Virginia trip yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
That's going to be in the summer months. I'm looking forward to that. And don't ask me where the location is. I just know it's in West Virginia. I don't know if Greg had talked to you about that when we were at the convention. We're actually going to be going into West Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited about that. I'm not a big Bigfoot person. I believe in Bigfoot, but I'm more, spiritual and paranormal. But I do believe in Bigfoot, and I think it would be so super cool to be able to experience them too, even if it's just the hooting or the howling or whatever they do, just to say, I heard Bigfoot,
Mhm.
So I'm just glad I'm in the cabin and not in the tents like everybody else.
Because, Ohio brushes up against West Virginia, so it's like that eastern side, like you were talking, John. And I'm like, how much of that Bigfoot crossing over from eastern, lower eastern Ohio into West Virginia? And, I remember, like, in my teens, my parents had bought land down in Coshocton. They were building a cabin. I hated it because it was an outhouse and everything else, and we had to clear part of the mountain. Now I'm like, I should ask my grandparents if we had some Bigfoot down there. And now they live up in the mountains of West Virginia, like up in the middle of nowhere. And I'm just kind of, I'm like, I might have to go make an extra trip out there and go see what's happening. But
Yeah.
that's all very mountainous. That sounds like it would be prime Bigfoot. Have you done any looking for Bigfoot in that part of West Virginia?
My family is from Mason County. So we're getting into the whole other can of worms, but that's home of Mothman. So my
Oh.
all my family, I mean, my aunt still lives there. I stay down there. That's where we stay during the Mothman Festival. And so I grew up, I spent a lot of time at my grandma's house. Now, granted, that's right on the river. I mean, Mason County's right on the Ohio River. So that's not deep down in the mountains. But I spent a lot of time up on the hills behind Hartford, which is the little town my grandma lives in, and in back of my grandmother's house, who lived 2 miles up the road from grandma. So I had grandma lived in Hartford, and grandmother lives in New Haven, and they're right next. Those two towns are right next to each other. Lucky me, because I was very lucky. But I spent a lot of time on those hills. Um, I never found any stuff up in there. Of
Mm.
course, at the time, there was those weren't all the things I was concentrating on. We were looking for old graveyards and things like that a lot of times. Um, but there's a lot of people I know in West Virginia, and I mean, they call it. There's one legend, they call it the Stone Giant. The thing that I do remember about Bigfoot in West Virginia, and I'm sure you've heard some of these stories before, is they would talk about things whistling at you in the woods. Never follow the whistles, or never whistle. This one I remembered a lot because I remember my cousin would do it all the time, and we'd be like, "Quit it! You're never supposed to whistle after dark, because that brings in bad juju." And
Mhm.
that was one I remembered that from when I was a kid. Like, they would tell us that don't follow the whistles, don't whistle after dark, you don't go in the woods after dark, things of this nature. Whether that was related to what's just old folklore, but it's funny when I hear these things now. Like, like I said before, I'll be watching a documentary or something, and they'll people will be talking about this, and it's funny because it's like I remember grandma telling me these things. It's not just something you're seeing on TV. Like, this was what the older people told us when we were younger. Like, don't do these things because
Mhm.
it's not safe. So,
Mhm.
um, like I said, I've got a lot of friends that are researchers in West Virginia, and there are some that they find some of the most incredible evidence. My friends Joe and Ron, they're called Wild and Weird West Virginia. It's unbelievable, and it's tied into. It's not big. There's they've got UFO.
Oop, you just broke up, John. We can't hear you. Up, and we just lost John.
Oh,
There he
oh,
is. You're
he's
back.
back. Sasquatch gave him back. Maybe, maybe. I'm making notes here. I think his West Virginia friends might be interesting to talk.
That was weird because I saw that I disappeared. I was like, where did I go?
I'm like, well, I'm going to make notes about your friend
Like,
Joe
my
and
van was here, but I disappeared.
I was like, ooh, maybe wild and weird West Virginia
Yeah,
could be
it's Wild and Weird West Virginia.
Mhm.
look into them. Maybe they would want to
They
come
are,
have a fun
I mean,
conversation.
amazing
Yeah.
researchers.
All right.
Absolutely,
We may
for
have to reach
sure.
out to them
They would
then.
definitely do it. One or the other or both.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's so much Appalachian lore of like what you can and can't do, and that lore has gone on for generation after generation after generation, and it's the oldest mountain range, at least of the continental US, right? So the things that can live there and their story has not changed, and the safety of like, you don't answer your name if it's randomly called out in the woods. You didn't hear that, ignore it, go inside, and you don't whistle, and and none of that has ever changed. And I'm like, funny how over the years it is still consistent and almost like hard set unspoken rules. So it would be interesting to talk with them.
Mhm.
I'm sure there's more rules that those of us who don't live there, we don't know because it doesn't apply to us, right? So
Right.
it'd be interesting.
I agree. We should probably give it,
Oh,
reach out
oh
to them.
yeah. I'm and people that,
Well, John's breaking up a little bit.
yeah,
We
they'd be,
can't. There we go.
they're great, great guys. So
It's funny. John mentioned about whistling in the woods, and that one
sorry
thing.
about that.
That's all right. I think there's a movie coming out called The Whistler. Now, I don't know if it has to do with all of this or not. It's some type of spooky movie that's supposed to be coming out called The Whistler. So I'm going to have to watch that and see if it applies to the mountains, like you're saying.
It's yeah.
Hmm.
Now, guys, if you have any questions about Bigfoot, John, what he does, where you can find him, feel free to ask. John, you have a Facebook group called Crowtown Squachers. Is this for like discussion on Bigfoot experiences, advice like, hey, I want to go hunting. What should I do? What should I not do? Um, Tell us about your Facebook group.
Our Facebook group it's called Crowtown Squachers Store. There is a Crowtown Squachers on there. That's one of our old ones, and you'll see it's like there's nothing on here. So it's Crowtown Squachers Store, and it is we put a lot of like where we're at, festival highlights, merchandise, things like that on there. Certainly, if anybody has any questions about Bigfoot or about where we're going to be, uh, sightings, or where's a good place to go, Squatching in Coshocton or something like that. I welcome all that. It's kind of an open thing for anybody. You have to join the Facebook group, but I mean, we invite everybody to come. So, like I said, it's kind of an open forum. So if anybody wants to ask questions or get on there and look, I always tell people sometimes you'll see things on our Facebook page, like at our vendor table or at a conference, and they'll be like, "Hey, John, that's not on your website," and it's because a lot of this, a lot of stuff that we sell or vend is kind of fluid. It's more, and I always tell people this: we are a mom and pop thing. We sell stuff that we would like to have. So like we're fans first. So I'm like, I find stuff and I'm like, that's cool. Like I would want that. So I'll buy 10 of those and put them on our table. So sometimes people will be like, hey, John, there's none of this is on your website. And I'm like, I know, because I don't always have certain things. But if you get a hold of me on the Facebook page, and I ship all over United States, and I've shipped to Canada before. So, if you see something on the page and you're like, John, that shirt, can I get that shirt? And sometimes here's the question, John, can I get that shirt in a different color? Because primarily, shirts are black because everybody likes black. But some people want a different color, and I will gladly do that, because I'm ordering shirts all the time, and say, John, I like that We Are Family shirt you're wearing right there. Can I get that on a peach? And I'll be like, sure. Just give me a week so I can get a peach shirt in your size, and I'll make it for you. So that's really cool too, to be able to do that.
Now, you mentioned vending. Are you going to be at the Parapsychon coming up?
I was not able to get into ParasiteCon. That was unfortunate and bad on my part. So I really wanted to. I've been watching it. Last year I had another event at that time. And then this year I was too late to get in. So unfortunately, maybe next year I'll be there.
I think you're muted, Kathy. Nope. Oh,
Thank
there
you. I was muted. So John, you did put your application in though for ParasiteCon though, correct? We lost John again.
Correct.
Yes. Okay, good. Good. Yeah, unfortunately, ParasiteCon fills up so fast. Right now, we have like 90 people on the wait list. So it's a very popular event. And yeah, we hope, let's keep our fingers crossed for next year.
Melanie, it is May
Yeah.
15th through 17th is ParasiteCon. I know, you know what? I'll have to nudge you, John. Like when I'm putting mine in, you're like, John, put it in. Do your application. I'm doing mine.
Yeah.
But I'm that vendor, and thank you, Kathy and Greg. Like I'll throw it in there. Here comes the invoice, and I'm like, I'm going to pay that later today. I've got 6 things I'm doing, and then one of you will be like, "Are you going to pay your invoice?" Oh shit, yes, here. Pay. Thank you for that. So yeah, we'll have to like John, do your application.
Yeah, as long as it's in, because that means you're on the wait list. So John, you have did you say that you have prints too, like footprints? Did I hear that correctly?
We have found footprints before. I've never got to cast any, but we've found footprints out at Salt Fork 3 different times. The first time was 2017, maybe 2018, 2019. And it was right after my wife had foot surgery. She was in a wheelchair for all winter long. And when we got out, she wanted to go on a hike. So we went to Morgan's Trail, which is a really popular trail at Salt Fork State Park. And she was tying her shoe. And if you've ever been to Morgan's Trail, it's really cool. So when you go in the trail, they've since cut the trees a little bit, and it's not as, it used to look like a cave entrance because the pine trees are so thick at the beginning. And when you go in there, like it's great to go in there on a hot day because it feels like you walked into air conditioning because the pine trees are so thick. They've planted them, all in rows. So you walk in there and it's like so cool. And even if it's raining, it almost no rain gets under there. So it's really cool. So you walk in there, it's almost like it's transitioning into like this other world. So you go through when you get through the pine trees, it's probably like 200 yards, and you get out on the other side. There's a hill, and it's basically a little track that they use for their little vehicles to get around in the park. And it's all gravel and sand where it runs down the hill from the rain. And she stopped there to tie her shoe. And she said, "Hey, come over here and look at this." And there was a footprint. I mean, it was obvious. I took a picture of it, but it just doesn't do it justice how big it is. I could actually put my boot in it, and I wear a size 14 shoe. Wow. So this foot, you can still see the outline of the foot around my size 14 boot. That's how big it was. And I didn't have any casting stuff with me. I was freaking out. Like, I'm calling all my Bigfoot buddies, and I'm like, "What should I do?" And they're like, "You should cast it." I was like, "I don't have anything to cast with." They're like, "Put some casting stuff in your van and don't ever take it out." So
there you go.
Since then, I found another one a couple of years ago out there, which was, I'm not even kidding, 20 feet away from where we found that one. Like going up the side of a kind of a little hillside there. That one was quite it wasn't as big as the other one. But you could see the toes and everything in it. It was pretty cool. I didn't cast that one either because I took my casting stuff out of the van that day or earlier that week.
Of course,
because I was cleaning the van out.
That always happens that way. Yeah.
And I found a 3-toed one in the mud up there one time walking that trail too. And that was very strange. It wasn't a bird. It kind of looked like an alligator foot. It was really weird. Like I don't know what did it. I have no idea. There's no alligators in Ohio, obviously. So
how big was
it? Was probably like 6 or 7 inches.
Wow, that's
it was
big.
About 6 or 7 inches.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what it was, but it was very pronounced. It was just strange. I have no idea to this day what that was.
God. Bigfoot.
Maybe
Sesame Street was in town. What was that, Melissa?
I'm going to say, was that potentially maybe a minor or a child Bigfoot, maybe? If it's only 6 or 7 inches? Interesting.
Now, the toes, were they pointy like a bird's or were they rounded?
They were kind of pointy on the ends. Like I said, it didn't look like it ended and then there was a claw either. It was kind of just, that was just part of the toe. Like it ended in that a little bit of a point.
That's odd.
Yeah. A little concerning. I don't like pointy things. The end of digits, that implies sharp things. That's concerning. So again, I would never, ever, ever take the casting stuff out of your van, John. Leave it there.
Yeah.
Exactly. Always have casting stuff.
It's kind of like in the
That's
paranormal.
something for you to remember too, Kathy, when you go on your West Virginia excursion, make sure you have casting material with you.
Okay. Good tip. Thank you. Yeah, very good tip.
If you've got one of those like little GoPro cams too, if you're going to be walking around in the woods, have one of those on you.
Yes, because I was about to say with the paranormal and everything, okay, he didn't have his casting stuff. It's always, we didn't have our cameras running or our audio running or anything like that. That's always the case. So yeah, having a GoPro while we're walking around or even having our audio on our arm or something would be wise. The thing is, I wonder though, because will we get anything then? Because it always happens when you don't have anything.
Right. Because I've joked that like, when I die, I'm going to be the most sarcastic, smart ass ghost out there. Like I would wait, like, they haven't hit, record yet. And I'm going to go muck up some stuff just, so like, I know how to get into my story, even with Miriam seeds. And I'm like, I would come in and just mess with the readers left and right because nobody thinks I can get in, but I know how to get in.
Funny.
So it's like the odds of that happening. John, do you have any upcoming planned trips where you're getting ready to go investigate?
For as far as research goes, nothing planned. Those things usually happen out of the blue. Me and a friend of mine, he'll hold of me and we will usually go and just go out and hit some of the hot spots in Coshocton County. So, but we do have conferences coming up, which is we're excited about that. Obviously, I've mentioned it a couple of times, the Bigfoot conferences this weekend. So there'll be a lot of people there, a lot of researchers there, and it'll be cool to catch up with everybody and touch base about what's been happening in other parts of the country.
Mm. I know there's a Bigfoot festival in Ohio in the fall time. Have you heard of that one, or were you planning on being at that one?
In the fall, there's several. There's one out west. It's actually the Ohio Bigfoot Jamboree. That's the first weekend in October.
Okay, I think I knew about
That's
the
in Ada, Ohio.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've seen the Hocking Hills one, and I'm like, ooh, that could be fun to go vend at, just so I have an excuse to go play.
Hocking Hills is also, we'll be there.
So if you're local, you can catch John at a couple of these here in Ohio. Say hi, see his cool stuff on his table that may not be on his website. And I'm just scrolling through the HockenHillsBigfoot.com, the festival website, and apparently you can have a VIP dinner, and it looks like Bigfoot's serving you, judging by their graphic. You know,
Oh, that's funny.
More than likely.
And I'm like, do tell, how do you have dinner with Bigfoot? But these always look fun. And it seems to be joking a little bit here. So Mothman is known for his bodacious butt, and Bigfoot is known for his big feet. So how fun. There's like, what other cryptids are known for certain things? Bigfoot, big butt. Amy says there's a Bigfoot festival too in West Virginia. So they get Mothman and Bigfoot festivals. Might be a reason to go visit West Virginia and go play out in the mountains there. I didn't realize there were so many Bigfoot conferences and festivals. So this must keep you pretty busy, John, if you get to go to as many as you like.
Yeah, we stay pretty busy during the summer months. There's usually, if not every other week, sometimes we've done a few months where we've done a festival every weekend. Now, they might not all be Bigfoot. There might be something else thrown in there, but there are quite a few Bigfoot festivals and just little ones around too in little towns. Carrollton has one. Chardon has one. So they're just little. And sometimes, like I said, they're not all Bigfoot. They're paranormal or cryptid. So it includes everybody, every Bigfoot, Mothman, Loveland Frogman. There's a Frogman festival that we do every March. So it's really an awesome show.
Frogman. Oh, I'll have to go down that rabbit hole. What exactly is Frogman like another name for Bigfoot, or is he a whole separate thing?
No, he's a frogman. He's a 4 foot tall amphibian human type creature.
This sounds
not
like
a lot of stories about him though, just a couple of sightings. But he's morphed into quite a character.
Interesting. I've never heard of the Frogman. I wonder, do frogs have pointy toes and 3? Maybe that was your footprint.
Maybe that's what it was.
Just wondering, going down this rabbit hole, and I'm like, now we got to talk about Frogman at some point. Like, I did not realize we had him here in Ohio. Of all the things, we have, and aren't there like little blue kids or something in Ohio, or the black-eyed kids? I forget. There's like children of some sort that hang around or are known in certain areas of Ohio, and they're not like great things to run into. I don't know if you know any of them.
Yeah, you have to look the melon heads. Look up the melon heads.
Okay.
Okay.
Those are children that were experimented on. They have these big giant heads, and so that's something else to look up. Frogman, they're actually going to make him the official cryptid of Ohio.
I feel like we could find a better cryptid than a frogman. I feel like we can do better. But I guess if he's only found in Ohio, why not claim them or claim him?
Right.
I don't know. Frogman just screams a Scooby-Doo villain. I would have a hard time taking him seriously.
Yeah, I'm looking up these melon heads, and it's pretty interesting. I'm going to have to dive deeper into that a little bit.
Yeah. This is that whole Ohio, everybody laughs at Ohio. And I'm like, now we're finding even more reasons why nobody takes us seriously. We have melon heads and we have the frogman. Like, like, come on. And we set our lake on fire, even though we haven't done that in forever. But
frogs rule, Amy says.
Yeah. I mean, technically frogs are associated with goddess Aphrodite. I just don't know if you want a 4-foot frog coming at you and your love working. Not necessarily romantic. And leave him outside. Don't kiss that one. Very well. Thanks for joining, John. I don't know how, because I'm like, ooh, we're over our time, and I know you had some things going. So I don't know if you have a hard stop time, but I know Kathy usually OSR is trying to get a hold of you.
Yeah, I do have to go back to work. So yes, John, thank you so much for being on. We do appreciate you.
Yeah, we would love to have you back.
Well, thanks for having me.
Some stuff.
Yeah, anytime.
Say,
looks like something's trying to upload, and I wanted, somebody tried to call me, so you might get a voicemail from somebody trying to. I think that's what's uploading. So I don't get a funny voicemail. Like, why did John include it? Pay no attention to that.
Right. Yeah. So I think the universe is like, guys, stop playing, get to work. So we'll definitely reach out, have you back on. It's been fun. And maybe next time, if when you're in not in your car, to where maybe if you could show pictures or something, that would be interesting to see. But I appreciate you still joining us,
sure,
despite everything you had going this morning. But yeah, thanks for joining. And I'm not even sure. So we have Lauren next week, right, Kathy?
Yeah, we have Lauren next week talking about woo-woo stuff, a little bit on the witchy side. May is going to be a little bit of a difficult month for us because Parapsychon is coming up. I know I won't be available the week of Parapsychon, but Lauren will be the start. I think the next week I'm not available, but I'm hoping that we can move into the more woo-woo stuff, the witchy stuff, the broom magic, stuff like that. And there was something, we were also talking maybe bringing on UFO stuff. So there's a lot coming on soon. So
yeah, so we'll have Lauren Woo Woo Witchy next week. Well, I think we agreed we were going to take the week of the 12th off, because you have Parapsychon. I'm in Columbus this coming week. So the first week in May, I'm in Columbus, and then the week after, I'm in Maryland. And so it's like, what, we'll just have a break. So we'll take that week off of the 12th, and then we'll be back with a lineup. So hang in there, guys. Bear with us through May. We're going to have some cool stuff lined up for you guys, but we'll see you next week. Have a great week, everybody. Stay safe, and we'll see you then.
See you all later. Bye-bye.